Baby.
We in here, yeah, we in here, 'cause we been.
Y'all better get comfortable with saying black.
We in here, yeah, we in here.
Black versus the Board of Education.
'Cause we came here, three of us now. We in here, yeah, we in here, 'cause we came here, three of us now. And you know, and we know, and we go, so you do what you know.
That's why we are indeed a whole mood.
That's it.
And you know I wholeheartedly believe that. Welcome to another episode of Black versus the Board of Education. My name is Miss Laureen, and I welcome you into our space where you are welcome to sit in and listen to our conversation, just kind of, eavesdrop as we have these conversations with folks from our community and beyond. But, before we ever get started, I like to let you know who's in the building. So we're going to go ahead and get some quick introductions and start our conversation off because this is Faith Made Flesh, Education, Opportunity, and Black Children. Dr. O is in the building and we'll get to him as well. But let's start with our panelist. And Jazz, you right here. So go ahead, girlfriend.
Oh, you said panelist. I thought we was talking.
Yeah, that's
Melissa.
you. That's you.
Okay. Hey, everybody. It's Jazz here for another Monday. Thanking God for another day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we always thank God. Thanking God is always on the menu.
Amen.
Fox. Hey.
How you doing today, everybody? It's Mr. Fox joining today.
Looking dapper in your Fox hat. I like that.
Hey, man, I appreciate that.
You
You
welcome.
know what I mean?
I didn't want anybody to think. She's hating. Okay. And on the screen, hey, girl, hey.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I'm a freshman at UC Berkeley.
And so before we got started, Dr. O was a little confused because he thinks you two look alike. And so, I mean, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but my babies are different, right? Melissa has been with me. She is my longest running co-host. We started this podcast together in 2021 and she's still here.
Awesome.
And I met Jazz back in 2018, 2017, something
14.
like that. Okay.
That's all I
So
know.
she's a staffer here, right? She works on the staff here at BYOP. So I assure you they are two different people.
Okay. All right.
So go ahead and introduce yourself and make sure you pull that microphone close to you so we can hear you. Because this conversation, I want you to be authentically you.
Oh, man.
And we don't want you to hold any punches because
sure?
we got to see you
You sure you
at
want
UC Davis at the Equity Summit, and you dropped so many nuggets. I'm just like banging on the table like, yes, speak my language, please, because there's so many things that are happening in our schools. And I think that you have a particular insight that could help some folks out. So
Thank you.
Go
I
ahead and
appreciate
introduce yourself.
Dr. Ijeoma Ononuju, chair of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusive Education Program at Toro University, assistant professor at Northern Arizona University, owner and proprietor of Estate Farms, and CEO of Emerging Foundation. Just happy to be here with you all and looking forward to this conversation. So
before anybody gets any ideas, yes, he's qualified to be here and speak on what he's going to speak on, and we're going to put some respect on it. So Dr. Ola, we were in the audience, of course, at SES's Equity Summit.
Yeah.
And we love it. Our sisters invite us every year. Every year I get to bring the staff. And so I know that Fox was particularly drawn to your comments. So talk to me, Fox. Talk to me about what it was about what Dr. O was saying that stuck out to you.
It wasn't just about what he was saying. It was the fact that as he was talking, I have witnessed some of our people speak, and then after they speak, they say another. They'll say a statement, and then right after they make a statement, they'll either do something or say something that totally makes the before statement null and void. They'll do something hypocritical. And the brother was speaking, and first, as you said before, he qualified to speak on what he was speaking on,
right?
But he hasn't lost the heart of what he was speaking on. He hasn't altered the foundation of what it was he was coming from. So the first thing that he had said that had drawn to me was something that I myself promote about self. He said, yeah, I earned my doctorate. I went to school and I went to UC Davis and I studied in them classes and I did what I was supposed to do to earn my doctorate. But I had earned my doctorate at that school. I earned the right to be called a doctor at UC Davis. The community that I was working in, I didn't want to be called doctor because even though I took the studies there and I'm bringing my studies back to my community, I had not earned the right to be called doctor amongst my community. And And that went a long way to me, because far too often do blacks leave the community, and you do come back. There's some blacks that do come back, but they come back too dignified.
Ooh.
Look, brother, we still don't know what you about. I get it. You went up there to Harvard and all that, and you telling me, hey, I went to school. Cool, fine, and dandy. But the way that I heard this brother presenting did not separate him from me.
Oh.
My brother got a doctorate, but I feel like he welcomed me into his doctorate by the way he was talking to me and talking to the audience.
Yeah.
And me, I consider myself a brother who came from some hard-headedness. If you could reach a brother like me, and you can reach the community, because this is what we look like.
Yeah.
He didn't go in there and just speak and just throw some words at me and try to talk above my head. He talked our language.
Yeah.
But he talked to the community as a mass, and he did make a joke about it. And then when he was done, he didn't do something hypocritical like get off the stage and walk out the door. He stayed amongst the people and ate the same chicken I ate. He stayed.
I don't say that was chicken.
I mean, it was a lot of different type of foods.
Wait a minute.
There was a lot of different type of foods in the event.
Yeah.
But the brother stayed.
Yeah.
He shook their hands, and he didn't ask me for $5 as he signed my book.
Oh.
He didn't ask me for 20. He said, "Brother, read it."
Yeah.
He invited the people off into reading the book,
Mm-hmm.
and not only did he do that in a knowledgeable way.
Mm-hmm.
We all come from different religious people. Me, we come from Christianity and whatnot, but he kept it spiritual as well. He didn't go learn the knowledge and then bring the devil back.
Ooh, okay, pause. So the book that he's talking about is Faith Made Flesh, the Black Child Legacy Campaign for Transformative Justice and Healthy Futures. And I believe you have chapter 10 in this book.
Yeah, I mean, if you say I do.
Yeah. Community-based leadership.
Yeah.
Licensed to operate at the intersection of love and humility.
Yeah. That was that chapter was based on the work that I was fortunate to do as part of the Black Child Legacy Campaign. First, a brother after the summit came up to me and made this comment about the book, and I'm upset with myself for not seeing it, but in the first chapter of John, the word says, and the word was made flesh, right?
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about faith made flesh, we're talking about something spiritually that's near and dear to my heart, right? In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God.
Talk to him.
So the opportunity for faith to be made flesh. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. In other words, it is your ability to materialize, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing right here. The vision that we see for our community, for our babies, right? It is our objective to materialize that, to bring it into the flesh out of the spiritual realm. And the book is really about how do you go about that process.
Yeah.
And my chapter in particular was about me really honestly asking permission to be able to serve the community that I was working in. Because far too often we have folks. So I never sought to get my doctorate because I wanted a credential.
Yeah.
I sought to get my doctorate because I understood the Foxes of the world needed a representation like myself to have that degree. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the first day of my doctoral program, I told all my classmates when they was asking like, why are we there? I was like, yo, this is a calling for me.
Yeah.
This is an assignment for me. I'm not here. Like, I don't want to be mean and say I'm not here to make friends. But what I'm telling you is like, this was never an aspirational goal of mine. This was God saying, okay, the next thing for you to do, given the fact that when you was 22, you picked up 2 felonies, is now to get the PhD, because you need to have that balance.
Ooh.
There's going to be somebody out there, a young man out there, that's going to need to understand that they have the ability to do it because you did it.
Yeah. And
that the F's did not disqualify you from the PhD, right? And so that's always been my mentality is, yo, this doctorate has to serve my community more than it serves myself. And with that comes permission, right? We all know folks who they go to school because when I get this degree, everybody got to call me doctor. And they wear that in every room that they go into.
Right.
You can't even talk to them before they correct you and be like, it's doctor. And it's like, As soon as you said that, everything you just said
went out the door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was, hey, it don't matter how much school I ever went to. You know, you see this in school all the time. What's that old phrase? That our babies don't care what you know.
They know until they know how
until
much
they
you
know
can.
how much you care.
Yeah.
Right. And we have educators all the time because they got it.
Mm.
They go into the classroom and their expectation is that we'll capitulate and bow down to their brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
When in actuality, our babies is looking at them like, you just the next latest and greatest. How long will you be here?
Facts.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Or are we just another stepping stone to your career aspirations, in which you'll be gone in 2 or 3 years after professing how much you dedicated to our community, and then you out of here. Right. And so when you operate in that way, you're not asking permission, you're demanding acquiescence.
Ooh.
Right.
Mm.
And so for me, you know, my chapter is really about me saying, hey, this was a community that had established leadership prior to me getting there.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been foolish of me to go in there and I just thought, let me rephrase that in my head out loud. It would have been foolish for me to go in there and throw my weight around because I've gotten a degree from a primarily white institution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which it doesn't discount the degree from UC Davis.
It doesn't.
But it is to say that for the majority of the folks that live in the Del Paso Heights, North Sac community, they're so far removed from UC Davis that piece of paper don't mean nothing to them. You feel what I'm saying?
100%.
And when I say far removed, I'm talking about what, maybe 15 miles that separates the two locations.
Yeah.
But how many folks in that community have never even stepped foot on that campus, right? And so to take a degree from a place that I don't even have a real connection to, because I'm trying to figure out how to pay my light bill. I'm trying to figure out how to have a roof over my head. I'm trying to figure out how to have food on my table. I'm trying to figure out how to just get through the necessities of life.
Right.
And you come in and it don't mean nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's really the place where I was coming from in that chapter. And I appreciate, extremely humbled by you all's response to what I was saying on stage. And, you know, the brother sent me some videos and I was just like,
good for a video.
yeah, I was just like, oh man,
4 of them.
because you in the moment, you just flowing, you know what I'm saying?
We was letting you cook. We was letting you cook a
to
little
go
bit.
back and listen to
Little
it, you know,
seasoning.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Melissa, I saw your responses as he was talking, as Dr. O was talking. I saw you just smiling and you were nodding. And what was sticking out to you as he was speaking?
I think that something that really resonated with me is you talking about getting your PhD and doing it for a bigger purpose other than yourself, because that's how I feel being at UC Berkeley, wanting to get my PhD, because I eventually do want to be a professor. And so just wanting to do it for a bigger purpose other than myself. I want to go into education to be able to represent Black students in the way that I wasn't represented. So that just really resonated with me.
Jess, what stuck out?
I don't know, just the fact that your calling led you to do something physically greater, so people will physically see that the outside of what you're doing, like, oh, you went and got your doctorate degree, but the people who truly understand you and are truly on the inside were on that journey with you, and you yourself know that that's between you and God, and this was what you were assigned to do. So just calling that out and seeing how when you follow God, you can truly be successful in this life, and all you need to do is keep that faith and keep stepping out on that mustard seed of faith. You know what I'm saying? That really stuck out to me and everything like that.
Absolutely. And let me be clear, because I always want to say this in spaces like this when we're having this conversation, right? People come from all different faiths, backgrounds, beliefs, or whatever. So when I'm speaking, I'm not trying to promote Christianity or force Jesus or God on anybody, right?
Right.
But I am to say this: everybody has a purpose for the reason why they was birthed into this world, right? Your life should be centered around figuring out what that is. If I always say at the end of the day, I'm a capitalist, but before I'm a capitalist, I'm obedient. Why? Because if you follow your assignment, prosperity always follows the assignment.
Yep.
Right? Far too many times we ask our babies, follow the money, and they find themselves miserable because they are out of assignment.
Come on.
If you follow the assignment, the prosperity would come with that, right? And so what we're promoting, or what I'm trying to say, folks, here is like, yo, you got to listen to that inner side of you, that inner voice. You know what I'm saying? Find a quiet place where you can actually hear it and be able to begin saying, like, what is my soul calling me to do that I'm out of alignment with, because I'm trying to pursue everything else in life, right?
Yep.
If that's God, if that's Buddha, if that's whatever, right? When you find your purpose, it don't mean you ain't gonna have bad days. It don't mean, but what it means is even in your bad days, there's fulfillment, because you understand in which the lane in which you're walking in.
And it's important, like you said, to identify your lane. There's some people operating in other people's callings and wondering why they're not prosperous. But anyway, you said something that really stuck out to me. And, you know, I believe that I'm following my purpose. That's why people sit around mad. But anyway, you said the F's do not disqualify you from the PhD. And I think you were alluding to the felonies. But I took it, when you said it, I took it as a double meaning, because some of our babies are struggling in school. That does not preclude them from not being able to achieve later. And so can you talk to me? You said something on the stage that basically alluded to, okay, there are people who have education and they don't know. I don't want to say they don't know nothing, but that's just my paraphrase. There are educators who have been educated and they think because they have this particular degree that they know what it is that they're doing. Can you talk to us kind of about the neighborhood you went to work in? And kind of some of the things that you saw that the educators probably should have been doing differently or could have been doing differently to reach that child where they were at.
Hey, that's a really good question. Let me first say, you know, one of the things that a lot of my students struggle with me is the lack of structure of my courses, because my philosophy of education is centered around learning, right? Not the mechanics of learning. And so a lot of times in school, there's a lot of rules and criteria to get the A.
Right.
People become masters at how to get the A. They don't become masters at learning. So when you ask them, what have you retained? It's like, I don't really know what I've retained, because my whole objective is to put my name in the right place on the piece of paper so I don't lose points. Right.
Right.
And so that's what I meant by, like, yo, we got people getting degrees. It don't mean that they're great learners. It just means that they've mastered schooling. On the flip side of that, right, our babies are pretty masterful at not following within the guidelines of what it takes to get an A, but extremely brilliant because they know how to learn, right? So it's not that they haven't learned it, or it's not that they can't learn it or obtain it, is that whatever strict criteria you have for them to get an A, it's just within us to kind of color outside the lines.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not until you become an adult that you realize, oh, it's the people that color outside the lines that have the most success in this world, right? James Baldwin says the paradox of education is to create compliance in every student. However, if you create compliance in every student, then your society is going to die, because your society inevitably needs disruptors, right? We are a community of disruptors. And so our babies thrive in environments in which they can be disruptors without being punished. The good thing about the Heights is that the Heights, you know, when I think about Grant, when I think about MLK, they're led by two men who were born and raised in that community. So they understand inherently on a certain level what I'm talking about, right? But when you get into a position of administration, there's so many other things that you got to deal with, that the art of working with the babies gets lost, because you become a adult manager, right?
Yep.
You managing the personalities, feelings, and, you know, attitudes of the men and women that you are in charge of, which takes away your ability to impact what's really happening with the babies. My thing would be, you know, kind of on my soap opera box, how do we get rid of grades? Right? Because what does a grade really do? It either overinflates or underinflates your self-esteem.
Yes.
Right. So you got brilliant babies who are getting F's because, again, they're not falling within the strict guidelines of what it takes to get that A. And they feel like they dumb, they stupid, they can't learn because that's what that F signifies. Right.
And that's what it reinforces.
And it takes us like hours upon hours upon hours of just like, no, you brilliant, you brilliant, you brilliant, you brilliant, in order for it to reverse that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the same thing for them babies that's getting A's, especially for our Black babies that are getting A's, right? They run the risk of an overinflated ego that makes them feel like they are better than their peers.
Right.
Because that's what the teachers have been telling them. The teachers have been saying, oh, you don't supposed to be over there with them.
Right.
You're supposed to go to school
like
over them. You're not like them, right? And so all of a sudden you become like, oh, I'm superior. Why? Because I got an A. So my first thing is like, how do we get rid of grades to where we can begin to re-emphasize actual learning? And then how do we find different assessment tools that can actually measure learning as opposed to measuring compliance, right?
Yeah.
If we can actually get to a space like that, you know, the reality of it is that when you go to some of the not higher performing schools, but when you go to some of these higher socioeconomic schools, they remove the barriers around learning.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if you guys have ever been. Is it the Met? It's a school.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
And they can be concurrently enrolled and get their
like
degree simultaneously without all the.
And they work, and it's like they removed all the barriers around learning, and they kids have so much freedom to figure out like how they want to go through this process of education.
Right.
And it works. It's like the higher socioeconomic you
and
get.
I don't want you, I'm gonna cut you off only because I think it's important that we outline what some of the barriers are for the people in the back, because they seem to think that our kids are problematic. So can we outline some of the barriers that may be in place that you're talking or referring to?
Yeah, our kids are not problematic. You know, in certain cultures, women can't look a man in the eye when they speak. The reason why I'm saying this is because when those babies come into the classroom, right, and they have a male teacher, there's a disconnect there because the teacher is like, what's wrong with this child?
Why they won't look at me?
Right. And it's like, hey, like culturally, they're coming from a different place. They can't. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that our educational system has been built around a culture that is not our own. And so therefore, there's always going to be incongruencies in terms of what we are able to do and not do, just simply based on that. With you know, I grew up Kojic, right?
So for all those out there, that's Church of God in Christ.
That's Church of God in Christ.
We grew up in the same church, just so y'all know.
One of the most common things that you can find in any Pentecostal African American church is call and response.
Yes.
Right. And if the
Exhibit A.
Yeah. And if the minister speaking, if he's not getting a response to his call, he's gonna demand the response. He's gonna be like, y'all out there, y'all, you know what I'm saying? Can I get an amen? Right?
Anybody in the house tonight?
That feedback is necessary. Right. So an example of that is now you take that learning and you go into the classroom and your teacher is up there teaching and you're giving your version of amens to the teacher teaching. Right. But what does the teacher say?
Stop talking.
Stop talking.
That was me.
Be quiet.
Much. You're being a disruptor.
That part.
All of those different things, right? So now as a child, I don't even understand culture and the differences in cultures, but I'm already being asked to navigate those differences in a way that's having an adverse impact on my ability to be successful in school. right?
Mhm.
I'm 6, I'm 7, I'm 8 years old. I don't understand this because, again, maybe I have a parent that doesn't even understand.
Right.
I'm fortunate. I got a PhD. Well, what does a PhD mean for my child? It means that I know how to navigate different cultures as it relates to the school system.
Mhm.
So when my baby is having problems in that, I can effectively communicate with the teacher and communicate with my child and teach my child skills while also teaching the teacher about the differences in the culture and where my baby is coming from. But if I, as a parent, don't even have that skill set, and so now I'm communicating with you within the style of my culture while you're communicating with me within the style of your culture, and we're not understanding each other, even though we're using the same language. And so you get an opinion of me as that I understand now why your kid is the way it is.
Mhm.
I'm saying all this while also acknowledging there are some problematic kids and families like within our own community. But I think a lot of it is, culturally, we're just different. And there's not enough space and emphasis on how do we reconcile these differences where our babies can actually thrive as opposed to day one being asked to capitulate.
Fox is over here clapping. And
because we work on these school grounds. I got BBSN tonight after this group. We teach these boys this, and you saying it in a manner of that's what it is. How can you be culturally relevant if you can't even reach me? How are you coming into these classrooms and you won't admit? A lot of people like to say this about slavery and the laws and all the stuff that have passed by. They say, why do we have to apologize for slavery?
Yeah.
Why do we have to apologize for a school system you built? you made it this way, and now you want to say, like you said, our children are problematic. No, this is the way they learn. And now you guys come in here with these degrees. But one thing about any degree, whether it's a doctorate, a PhD, whatever you want to call it, it's a continuance of learning.
Mhm.
So whatever you mastered it that year, and the next day there's new information on it.
Yeah.
You must continue to learn. So you come in here like you this expert off this information you learn off that dude's brain.
Mhm.
That dude's brain ain't got nothing to do with her, him, and the Kojic kids and the other kids that's in here. You spoke on a small group. We just spoke on some Kojic. But in the room be Muslims, Kojics, Palestinians, other African brothers, other religions, not to mention those who come from group homes, who, although they may be Christian, their survival techniques don't allow them to tap into
and
their
sometimes it's because their families were Christian, right? That doesn't mean they've picked up a book and read it, the Bible and read it. That does not mean that they're familiar with the customs.
And you down in this shop. But if you ask me what I know on a piece of test, I may not be able to pass your test. Let me show you what I can do, though.
Did y'all know people making comments on this?
Yes.
Yep.
You just found out.
We live?
Yeah. We are live. Welcome to the party.
We're going to have to update. Y'all need to give disclaimers.
Tevin, put up the disclaimer.
I did not know that. I'm like, this is real comments.
Yeah.
But these people, they not letting us show them. And the only way we know how to show them is like you said, call and response.
The disclaimer. There you go.
Thank you.
This episode is for educational purposes only. Okay. Melissa, I know you're trying to jump in here, and I want to make sure we get to you because we don't like to leave you out of the conversation.
No, it's okay. I love just like being able to watch and hear all of the things that are happening. Something that really also resonated with me was as a student who grew up, I'm Black, and I was also homeschooled for the majority of my life. And so I was really like being able to relate to having different learning styles and then trying to go into a traditional learning space and then being called disruptive, because that's the exact same thing that happened to me. I grew up homeschooled. I was a very, very curious child. I was always asking questions. My mom was the one that homeschooled me. So we already have that connection. I was always asking her questions and she was able to cater to me. And so when I tried going into public school in middle school, that same thing happened to me where I was specifically asking questions in a subject that I didn't understand, trying to gain an understanding, because that's what I've been told. That's what we've all been told in school. You're supposed to have an understanding in order to be able to be successful.
Right.
And so me asking questions as a child in a non-predominantly Black space, raising my hand and asking multiple questions to try and gain an understanding on the topic I didn't understand, I was called disruptive. And that has such an impact on the way that children succeed in life. And they can either take that and try and push back against it and try and succeed and go forward, or that permanently damages the way that they think about themselves. And I just remember meeting Miss Lorene at the time where that happened, because I was extremely quiet and reserved and kept to myself and didn't like to insert myself and even have conversations with people literally other than my mother, because I was told in a space where I'm supposed to be safe that I was disruptive simply for existing while Black.
Real. That's real.
And I'm just like, Melissa's mom had to make her come and see me. Melissa was kind of scared because I was a whole lot of something. But what I realized in because she was on the computer, like most of the kids we met during that time, she was on the computer. She had never met me in person, but I don't know what came through the screen, but she's still here. And I think that it's because they knew from the gate that I cared. And I really cared. And I would do one-on-ones. Like we would be on that computer 14 to 18 hours a day, just making sure our kids had access to somebody who cared. And then when they turned around and opened the schools back up, there was never a plan how to reinforce the communication skills, how to reinforce the standing that these children meant something. Because before they went into COVID, there was a whole issue with the disproportionate discipline, right? And we saw that explode during COVID, because then they started being suspended or kicked off the Zoom for not turning on their cameras, for doing things in the background, because a lot of times in our community, our babies are not allowed to be babies because they have younger siblings and mama has to work. And so they're pulling double duty. And so our children were caught in this thing where they tell you, okay, education looks like this. Well, it may look like that for somebody who's allowed to be a child all the time. But what happens when that's not what our children are allowed to do? Right. And so I just saw certain things during that time period. And even now, we have a bunch of kids in schools who have not had their communications styles reinforced, or they haven't been taught how to effectively communicate with each other. And now they're resorting to violence. Right.
Yeah.
And they're around folks who are punitive when they don't look at these children as children, and they want to respond punitively instead of compassionately. So, Melissa, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't know if you were done.
No, you're good. I wanted to add on to something you said, because you asked, because I met you through Zoom, and then you asked why I stayed, but I stayed because you showed up for me. Like, even beyond being on the screen, when you were able to fly, you flew to LA to meet me. And I think it was like, there were no empty promises. And I think that's often what we see in schools. Like, you have teachers on the first day who are like, I'm going to be here for you. And you can come tell me whatever. And then the moment that you do something outside of what the teacher knows how to handle, then you have to be dealt with, and you become a problem child in the classroom. And so because you didn't make empty promises and you showed up the way that you said you were going to, like, that's, I feel like, the difference in what one big part of what schools lack in trying to build relationships with students.
Thank you for pointing that out, because some people they're trying to understand, why, say, for instance, we go into school environments and the children respond to us in the way that they do. It's
Right.
because children can spot a fake a mile away.
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
know who cares about them based on, I don't know what it could be. It could be the tone you come into the room with. It could be your background. It could be a number of things. But Melissa just outlined it so beautifully. Thank you. There's something missing in our school environments, and you cannot punish your way out of it.
No, and as you were talking, I realized I've been saying this since the pandemic, but we missed a grand opportunity with the pandemic to reinvent what schools are, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Schools is the only institution that has not innovated in the last 100 years. The way we was educating them 100 years ago is the same way we educating them now. And when the whole world stopped because of the pandemic, we had an opportunity to blow it up and start over.
Mm-hmm.
But we were so persistent on getting back to that good old thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
America has a nostalgia problem where instead of moving forward and seeing what the possibilities of tomorrow are, we constantly trying to move backwards. And that's what schools did. They tried to move back to what was comfortable. And when they
Or what they knew.
Right? And when they got there, they realized, oh, we've passed that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And Fox, your hoodie is trying to say something on the microphone because it's over there scratching.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening to what he's saying about the pandemic and what we could have possibly failed to do. But I believe the same thing you believe, but with a different twist. I've seen people come out of the pandemic of us, of our culture, come out and recognize the loophole in the small. And I hear you speak on it all the time. These pandemic babies. This is why this is going on. That we recognize what happened with our culture recognizes, and the reason why we recognize is because pain recognizes pain.
Yeah,
a slave knows another slave.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we like, I know what's going on with this baby because it's been going on with ours. We've been going through this. So within that being said, a lot of people didn't want to listen to us. That's what.
Because we didn't have the PhDs.
Yeah, that's why.
But you got one, so we're gonna come behind you.
For us, we champion behind you. Like one of ours got one. When he came and he said, I did that for my community. That's like saying that's ours.
Yeah.
It's my job to make sure I don't misrepresent this brother and I don't let nobody disrespect this brother. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Jesus had 12 disciples. It was their job to help him get into things so that he, you know what I mean?
Don't forget Judas was in there too.
Judas was in there too. But he also said this. Jesus was a smart man and knew, as he said in the thing, he ate with them brothers at the end of the thing. The one that has the knowledge must know sometimes I can't be of the old school. I must know, hey man, I know y'all gonna betray me before I get in there. I can't let that stop the mission.
Yeah.
And so when you said that, I just want to point something out that he pointed out that I believe as well. Some of our children do be having problems. Let's not get away from the fact that we do be having troubles. But one thing he said, you have to continue to push forward. You got to keep working. If y'all know me, y'all know I work hard. I work all day because this is my dream. When I met you, you said, I'm gonna let you go. You can do what you do. You gave me an opportunity to enact my dream. I came fresh out of prison. 27 years when nobody cared, into an environment like Melissa said, somebody cared. I show up every day. My phone ring at 9:00 at night on some, hey, and I'm answering that thing like, yeah, is that right? Well, what time can we meet? I'm gonna drive across town all the way to Arden Arcade, to Folsom, to Roseville, whatever. I work all day because I'm just a small piece of the problem. But that's me showing up and doing what I can. And you got to still work hard. So you didn't get a doctorate because he showed up with some bubble gum in his back pocket. No, you still got to show up and do the work. So for those of us that's conscious, don't get lazy in the fight. Still show up, still do the work, go the extra mile. I may not have the doctorate.
And it's not glamorous.
It's not glamorous, but I'm doing my part.
It's going to get on your nerves.
And I'm there every day.
At all.
Congratulations. Congratulations to y'all as well in this room, because y'all are Black people. That's beautiful what that sister said about you. That was beautiful when you said, what's the callback thing? And you immediately had it in you because it's in you. Like we always say, if you know, you know. Right. But that small piece that you said, let the listener know, oh yeah, she with it.
She probably with them.
But that's a small piece of the prize when we uplift one of our own, when we uplift you. You know, let's champion behind those that know. Yeah. Quit pitting them down. Quit pitting us down. If you see us moving, we here for you. He got the doctorate for the community. So when you see him, why address him as brother did nothing wrong to you. You know what I'm saying? The brother, he spoke to us. He came to our event. He came. I was there the day you asked the brother, can you want to come to the show? I was sitting right there in the room. Yeah. I was right there, literally in the thing. And I heard this brother, he didn't say,
let me get to my secretary.
He said, oh, how you doing? Let me see what I can get open with you. I'm not for sure right now, but let me find. This wasn't nothing but a week ago.
Come on. Was it a week? I don't think it was a week.
Even if it was that. But my point is, if he made himself available if he could. If he couldn't make it, it wouldn't be because I'm trying to shine you on. Mm-hmm. So for brothers that's still out there, and our children and our race that's out there, we get that my message is, we get that it's hard in these schools right now. Yeah. My message is, keep going. Mm-hmm. I might not be able to reach you, but I need you to keep going so you can reach somebody else.
I think Dr. O's little statement was a little different, because what I heard him say at the Equity Summit, some folks just need to get out the way.
Real.
And so can you talk to us about that? Because again, there's some folks who just have mastered the art of schooling, and they think that they are now the authority over Black children. And sometimes they need to move out of the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk about why they're in the way.
Let's do
Right.
that too.
By design.
Look at Melissa.
Well,
Yup.
it is by design, but I think so. You know, my problem right now with some of our people that's doing this work is we've been in the ring in a real fight, but some of us thought we had headgear on. And we thought that our opponents wasn't really trying to, right. And now that we didn't got hit, we're shocked, and now we got all the like. Well, so the reality of it is this, right? If every kid that went to school, if you had 100 kids going to a school, and all 100, right, was 4.0 students, if they all wanted to go to college, some of them can't go to college.
Yeah.
Because there ain't 100 available slots for them 100 kids, right? That's how the system is created. If every kid was successful, there ain't enough slots for them all to go to the next level. And if they all went to the next level, they all can't become doctors or lawyers because you had nobody working at McDonald's or at Chevron. So the school is created in such a way that it filters so that you can have people readily available to work every position that's part of an economy, right? So everybody can't be like, this is just by design, right? Everybody can't be successful because somebody got to pump my gas while somebody got to work on my heart, right? And so when I'm talking about getting people out the way, I'm saying like, well, let's create that utopian society, right? Let's create the society in which, every kid can go to college and every kid can become a doctor or lawyer, and we can figure out everything else from there. But stop artificially creating failure, right? Because you're trying to feed into a system that says everybody can't, right? Let the system collapse on itself because we said everybody's can, right? Think of it this way. If you are a chef, a restaurant owner, right? Somebody coming to your restaurant and they say this food is nasty. This happened to me last night. Went to a nice restaurant downtown. The food was bland. We told the waitress, hey, yo, this food is bland. They said, okay, we'll take it back. We'll take it off of your ticket, right? Your charge. And can we make you something else? Can we make it right? Because we don't want you leaving this restaurant thinking that our food ain't good. Whatever we can do to make it right, we'll do it right now. Teachers are chefs, except for the fact that we get a high off of failing kids. We want kids to come into the restaurant and be like, the food is nasty. And we acting, we shouting because like, they think my food is nasty. Like, what do you mean? That means they're not coming back to the restaurant anymore.
Right.
There you go.
That means that they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that they don't eat here again. And your job is to make sure that they eat. In order for them to eat, you got to make sure that the food tastes good and is nutritious, right?
Right.
And so we wonder why our babies is opting out. It's like, because y'all putting food that don't taste good and not nutritious in front of them. And then when they say, hey, this don't taste good, can y'all take it back and bring me something else? We say, no.
Right.
You got to eat that. And we're going to charge you a premium because you said it's nasty now. It's like, yo, where does this business model work? Oh, it doesn't work.
Because it's not
except for when you are providing a product in which you know that they can't opt out of. Right. And so when I'm saying get out the way, I'm saying, yo, there's some of us that's really born and called to do this. Those of you that just want a job because you're trying to pay your mortgage, no problem with that. But this ain't the field for you. I really wish there was a way for us to make it a mandate that you can't work in education unless you've been given that calling. Because we have too many people occupying positions that this is just a paycheck for them. This is the way that they pay for their Reeboks or their Jordans or their kids' trip to wherever, right? And it's like, you got to have a heart to do this work because the babies are going to demand more from you than any set compensation can provide in return. And you got to be okay with that.
I always
Does
say
that make sense?
It's I always say it's a heart issue. This
Yeah.
ain't this they like to do this Arbinger training, which is mindset training. You can't mindset or out train a heart issue.
No.
Right.
Either you're called to do it and you believe every child is worthy of care, compassion, and concern, and every child can learn, or you do not. And those who do not believe that don't need to be there.
That
Right.
at all.
That
Can I tell you something?
Yes, sir.
On every school site I've worked on,
Mm-hmm.
the people who I have talked to that it let me know that they had children, I always say this: "Oh, your kids go here?" They all say, "No, my kids don't go to this school."
Oh,
I ain't worked on a school site where the people that got kids told me, "Yeah, my kids go here too."
Right.
They don't even believe that you work in a place where you don't even believe in it that is good enough for your kids. But you come into these IEP meetings with me and you look at me and say, "We're doing the best we can here. We're doing great.
Right.
Why your kids don't go to this school?"
Right.
that's
That part.
Dr. Bishop said that to me. She said, if the school is not good enough for your kid to attend,
Mm.
then it becomes your responsibility to make sure that it becomes that, right? And you're right. Too many educators work at schools that they would never allow their children to attend. And they're not in the trenches fighting to make sure that that school becomes a school in which they will allow their children to attend. They get in their car, they go home, and they be like, "I thank God that my kid don't go here." And it's
Right.
like, yo, that's not right.
Not at all.
And I'm only laughing because I mean I have forgot that is a thing that happens, right? I'm so used to going into environments where we're going in as educational advocates, right? And I'm looking at different problems that are occurring, and I'm wondering, not really, I'm not really wondering, but I'm gonna say it like this: I'm wondering what would happen, what would continue to happen if the family hadn't found us and I didn't know education code like I do,
Mm.
right? I remember a couple of weeks ago we had a complaint, and the child was up for expulsion.
They was reciting false education codes up in there.
The
Oh,
child was up for
no way.
expulsion, and he didn't do anything.
Mm.
And so I'm asking, I'm asking the particular person that was on the Zoom or whatever. I said, "Well, okay, I see what is on this paper, but now tell me what he did to earn this." And it's like, "Oh, well, he walked into this space." Okay, cool. He walked into the space, and then what?
Right.
Right? Because if you're telling me that you're using 48900A2, which is attempt to cause bodily injury to somebody, I need to know what he did.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have an answer. So because this particular child would not snitch, in a sense, or tell what they thought he knew, they decided to punish him by enacting all these education codes, right? And it's like, okay, well, that needs to come off. That needs to come off. That needs to come off. But how long have you been out of school? They tell me 8 days. I know that you can only suspend a kid for a maximum 5 days. And at that 5th day, if you're going to extend that suspension, you have to hold another meeting. It's called an extension to suspension meeting. The administrator told me, "I've never heard of that." Well, you're in violation of California law because it's definitely in there.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't know certain things, our families don't know certain things, right? And you were talking about families going in and having a particular way that they deal with conflict or deal with things based on their cultural experience. Not a lot of us are in there studying education codes.
No.
So when they send something, right, to our families and they say, "This is what we're going to do with your child," what our families tend to do, mamas tend to do, is we want to try to fix it. So we're going to call back and give them the information that they're asking for, allegedly, right? You give that information and they keep the education codes in place. But now you have other names that you've associated with this stuff. And so, again, I'm saying if we don't know, like I don't know what you know based on the PhD that you have, right?
I'm saying that to myself. I need to come study under you. Because when I go in here and advocate for these babies, I'm going in there. I don't know no education codes.
Oh, then we need to talk.
I just have P, H, and D with me. You know what I'm saying? And what I get to benefit from
Mm-hmm.
is, even though I don't always have the knowledge about the codes,
Mm-hmm.
people start moving differently
They do.
When those 3 little friends of mine come in the room with me,
Facts.
and they be and they start telling them that they start being like, well,
this is what happened, and this is what this, and this is what I mean. And I think that because I came out when I first came out as an education advocate, I was swinging really hard and really fast, and I was really, I don't want to say vicious, but I was very intentional.
Yeah.
And so now when I come into rooms, they already know what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
So most times it's like, oh, Miss Pryor, A, B, C, and D. It's no longer, okay, well, Laureen, now they put some respect on it because they know that I will swing.
Yeah.
Right. Now, either you gonna duck, either you gonna duck or you gonna learn to fight. Right. And so it's just been interesting because they move different when they know that you're not one of them to play with.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm saying all that to say, the more we know and the more we take the strengths from the folks around us, the more that we can try to change this system that has been in place to make sure our children stay in their places.
Absolutely.
They have a system for it. They just don't use it. If a person get on the thing right now and do this while you talking, and and they go say, that ain't sign language.
Okay. I was about to say, now, are you doing sign language?
Right, that's my point.
Are you throwing up?
And they're going to say, you teaching wrong. That's not sign language. You disrespectful to the system. You ain't right. And they're going to have that person on the news and say he miseducated, and they're going to apologize that day. It ain't going, a whole hour ain't going to go by before they take him up off that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You wrong. If somebody in court, a sterner writes the wrong codes down, wrong code, you don't put a period in the right place. You fired. You'll never work in this field again. But an educator can get up there and recite the wrong codes, abuse your child, disrespect the parent, and then come in here with an advocate and find out it was offend them, and then find out it was wrong, and they'll say, I didn't.
And I'm still waiting for them to call me about the meeting I requested with that particular administration. They have not called me, and I'm very impatient. I'm patiently impatient because I want to know how it got there. How did we get to the point where another Black child was about to become a statistic because you don't know your job and you don't know California law, but you're functioning as a person in charge of discipline?
Right.
Like, how did we get here?
They'll tell you how they got there.
And it shouldn't take me coming in from calling in from a meeting in a different district to try to get you together.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't take that. But I'm glad that they called me.
They're gonna say we gave them some cultural training.
If they didn't sit down with me, they wasn't trained.
Our coach Bob is Black. Our coach Bob, he's Black.
Yeah.
But Coach Bob is married to. And they do it.
What is that?
Coach Bob married to Susie.
You know who he married to. He ain't been around us
black,
in the last 20,
but he
ain't been around us in the last 20 years.
Yeah. And I'm like Killmonger, right? If you ever seen Black Panther, I'm not the Black Panther, I'm Killmonger.
And that's another reason, like I said, why I love him. I don't have to know this brother to love him. The brother, like I said, I'm gonna continue to point that out. He didn't get the PhD and move in the thing. I've been on his farm. He didn't know I was on his farm until after we was there when we did the Black Dad and stuff. But it was open to the community. Everybody got a business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And they doing it. But did the invoice say $2 million so that Black folks couldn't get there? He made it reasonable for the people to be there. And they came and they celebrated. And some of them didn't know that they was on a Black farm until we told them. I was shocked. I said, a Black farmer. I myself. But this is what we need to see, because guess what? Everybody Black ain't about to be no basketball player.
Yeah.
And there ain't that about to be no football player. So then they promote them out and tell them, oh, you better learn how to lay bricks. I ain't no bricklayer neither. I'm 42 years old and I ain't gonna be on the side of nobody's freeway laying no bricks in the summer. But they need to know there's other options.
Yeah.
And shout out to y'all because every Sunday, at least for the next few weeks, we doing volunteer work at the farm. So I can get my rows laid for my crops. But we had a young lady and her daughter come out yesterday, and I ain't never seen them before. And they was like, well, we didn't been here before. And I'm like, what y'all come here for? They was like, we was part of BYLP. Like, we came and experienced that whole thing. And I was like, that's what's up. And they was like, so we've been keeping our eye on you ever since. And they came out and helped us yesterday. So I appreciate y'all because, again, I think that's one of the things that I've been called to do is exposure and access, right? I'm not the only Black farmer.
You're not?
I'm not the only black PhD, right? I'm not the only black man in Sacramento that owns land, but I'm one of very few that is given access to all those things.
Right.
So when a baby walks up to me, it's like, yo, my whole goal, I told about this to my nephew the other day. I was like, hey, when you walk on the college campus, it's not intimidating to you because your uncle is a doctor.
Yeah.
Right. The more we can give our babies exposure to that, right? Like you said, not just the athletes or this, but give them exposure to Black success.
Yeah.
The more that they'll see it in themselves and understand that, hey, I got a greater chance of becoming a doctor than becoming a football player.
Right. And we need to have those, and we need to have those conversations.
Yeah.
You know, we like to push our kids in one way or the other, right? We want the next greatest athlete, we want the next greatest rapper, entertainer, somebody, but somebody gonna have to learn some stuff. They gonna have to learn some stuff, because we have to insulate all parts of our community, and everybody not gonna do the glamorous stuff. Right. We need some folks that'll do the grunt work. I'm a grunt worker. Although people will probably try to say something different. But my team will tell you I'm in the field every single day with them.
Let me tell you something though about being that grunt worker. Like the brother said, I heard what you said earlier too. That's your lane. I'm in my lane. He said far too often we keep teaching our babies, because we come from these urban neighborhoods, chase the bag. And then, like you said, something bad happens. Chasing that bag got little J-Bo killed. Chasing that bag got Melissa. I shouldn't use your name.
Don't use my baby. Don't do it. Don't do that.
What the brother said was real.
No, you're right.
Teaching them to chase these bags, and they miserable.
Yeah.
Our families are miserable.
Our community
kids and our community is miserable. Know your lane, and know that that's your lane.
Yeah.
This my lane. I might got to work harder, and I might do the grunt work, but this is my lane, and I'm proud to do it. And I'm wake up early, and I'm gonna have to stay late, but that's what I'm gonna do, because this is my lane. And for those people that don't know, it's so many Blacks that we come from, but they only focus on one. So since we're gonna focus on one that they like to focus on, which is Martin, focus on some of the other things too. Did you know Martin Luther King sat in that jail cell while he was doing in his lane? Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he got hosed off a little bit.
Straight up. Do you know he got bit by dogs?
Okay.
Do you know that's the only
He was
brother
a grunt worker.
ain't nobody done what he's done since it, to me in my eyes, since he done it. And I'm not talking about the marches. I'm talking about who can come to your house and tell you, brother, we about to get bit by some dogs today. Let's go.
Right.
And you can go watch
Right, yeah. We about to
see.
Who can get slapped in their face and go home and look at their wife and say, that was what was called for today. You know, we wasn't allowed to say that. We was making an impression. And what sister gonna stand up next to that brother and be like, that's right, baby. You got slapped. You ain't no punk. You know, go on in there.
Rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol down. You know what I'm saying?
Let's not forget this stuff, because when we moving forward and when he say, know your lane, that might have been your lane. That's what we got to do.
Right.
Because I'm 42. It's not my time to shine is in that field. I'm trying to do, I want you to shine. I'm doing this so you can shine. The legacy our ancestors left behind was for us right here. And like when you said something I've never heard nobody say. You said, I'm doing what I'm doing right now so that my ancestors in the future can shine. I never thought about my ancestors that ain't here yet.
Your future generation.
The ancestors that ain't here yet, they've never been identified as such.
Yeah.
But with that, I have to go to BBSN. We live in effect. We about to talk to these little Black boys and get them popping, give them this education that they need. I thank you.
How do we jump?
Well, you know, he gotta make his grand exit.
Right. We right next door. Bring your boys. We want to talk to all of them. We want to educate them and give them the love that they need.
Door?
Right next door.
I'll make sure to pop in before.
Come on over there, brother. They need to hear from you. I love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Appreciate it.
And so because our time is running out, we like to give 30 seconds. We want y'all to give us 30 seconds takeaway.
They need to read it.
Fox said that's the book on the corner of the table. He wants you to make sure you purchase your copy. It's Faith Made Flesh, Black Child Legacy Campaign for Transformative Justice and Healthy Futures. We want to make sure we support the authors of the book. We read it, we digest it so that we can do better for our community. And there's so much more I want to talk to you about. There's so much more.
I
So
mean-
we'll have to have you back. We'll have to you come back.
Okay, I was gonna say we can keep talking, but I understand time limits and stuff.
And the camera just went out over here, but we're going to keep talking because I think that 30 seconds, what's your takeaway?
Keep advocating and keeping your voice heard, because that might be the path that you were called to be on. So regardless of what that comes with, stay true to what is in your soul to do.
Okay. Melissa.
People need to be held accountable because Black students are the future, and y'all who are not doing your jobs correctly need to stop holding them back.
Girl,
Dr. O, you got 30 seconds for us? What's your takeaway? What do you want the people to know about this book, about you, about the work that needs to be done on behalf of our communities?
Yeah, I don't know if I could keep it at 30 seconds.
Okay, give me what you got.
But I was telling this to a bunch of young men yesterday, and this is the hype that I'm on, at least for 2025. But I told them, I said, go back and watch the TV show Rock.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna tell our young ladies, it's ROC.
Charles S. Dutton.
There you go. TV show's called Rock. The reason why I would told them to go watch that show is because I said it was about a Black man who was a garbage man.
Yeah.
The important thing
was Debbie Morgan in that too?
I
think she
so.
was the wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
The important part of that is it wasn't that he was a garbage man. It was that he was walking in his purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody could understand it because he was happy to get up and go to work every day. But because he was walking in his purpose, he was able to find joy, happiness, fulfillment, and opportunity to take care of his family. And I said, the best garbage man in the world is the CEO of Waste Management right now. Mm-hmm. Somebody who has worked their way up and finds a certain amount of success. And so if anything, for our young people, despite what the school system may say, go find out what it is that you're supposed to be doing in this world, right? That don't require a teacher. That don't require a classroom. That just requires you to be silent and listen to what is being said on the inside of you, and then saying yes to that. If you can do that, you can overcome any obstacle.
Right. And I will say, because I got a lot to say, but I'll give y'all 30 seconds.
30 seconds, Miss Serene. Tell us what you got today.
I think, just piggybacking on what Dr. O said, if you find something that you would do, whether you were being paid or not, that's probably what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
What people don't understand and don't know, I got with BYLP in 2005. I took over in 2009. I got my first paycheck in 2021.
Wow.
And that's because this is in me. It's not on me, it's in me. And I remember praying about it, and I said, you know what? My answer is yes and amen. Mm-hmm. Whatever darts I need to take, whoever thinks that, this was just something that happened overnight, or they see me and they were wondering, or they're trying to blackmail me for information, or they're wondering why I'm paid the way that I'm paid, because I put in the grunt work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's just been very, very interesting to watch people see me visibly in the community, but then try to take credit for the things that I do and how I move.
Absolutely.
And so we'll have a conversation about that, because my assumption is this person is going to continue to do things behind the scenes to make things a little bit difficult. And so if you want to air me out, let the community say it. Let my work and my fruit speak for itself. I'm not interested in arguing with anybody. I'm not interested really in fighting anybody. But if it comes down to it, know that I can air you out too. And I'm just going to put that out there. We're going to get out of here.
At me, I don't know if she's talking to me.
I'm not talking to you. I'm looking right at you because you just right there and you were smiling. But I need people to understand, just because I'm cool don't mean I'm cool.
Come on.
And we just put it that way. So we're going to get out of here. We're going to hit you with the peace sign. We'll see y'all next week. We'll be with Dr. Figueroa Ramirez talking about where all the Black teachers at, the kids who want to be teachers. And we're going to talk about Sac State's College of Education and how you can become a teacher if that's what you're called to do. Let's rap about it next
Hold on
week.
real
yes,
quick.
Sir.
So I am, I forgot this. I am now currently the program director of the Ramona Bishop Brilliance Project.
Come on, Dr. Ramona Bishop.
At Elite Public Schools.
Uh-huh.
What that is
that's in Vallejo, yeah?
Yep. That's a teacher residency program. So if we got anybody that want to be a teacher, I'm in charge of her teacher credentialing program. So if they don't reach out to Dr. Figueroa, they can reach out to me and we'll get them in.
Okay, look at that. Come on, pipeline. Let's create this pipeline and get some of these folks up out of here because some of them don't need to be there. So again, for real this time, we're going to hit you with the peace sign. We'll catch you next week. Peace.